You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. Man, we are here once again, and today we have a true honor talking to a amazing guest today, John Dorsch, and he has an amazing album that we're going to learn all about today. It's an album called Elevation. He has a website you should check out. It's JohnDorschMusic.com, and we're going to learn a little bit about him. He has a pretty awesome background, but I think I really want to dive into this story that he, as a teenager, he used pennies to slow down vinyl records. And to get that sound, I'ma just switch gears and get John to show us how you doing, man.
Hey, how are you? I really appreciate being here, Shamaya. That's an interesting beginning, but that was the only thing I had. I didn't have a guitar teacher way back when. If you go back, many years ago, there was no YouTube, there was no tablature, and there was just some strumming on the guitars going on. And I was playing accordion, and I really wanted to learn guitar. So the only thing I had was my mother's old phonograph, and it would slow down or speed up, and I would put weights on the albums like Boston, More Than a Feeling, the Beatles albums, slow them down to try to learn how to play She Loves You and all that and learn them note for note. But you also had to detune your guitar to kind of match it up. So it sounded really bad, but then when you got it figured out, you could tune it back up and it seemed pretty close. So that's how I learned by ear. And then it's a little bit easier now, but that's where we started out. So anyway.
That's awesome, man. I thought that's pretty unique because, today's world, young kids don't know anything about that. So it's good for them to, learn a little bit about, the old school back in the day. So when you kind of fast forward to you right now, you as a guitar player and music artist, kind of tell us a little bit about your style and just the focus of your music genre.
Well, okay. Life's a long journey here, and for me, I'm constantly being inspired by new things, and I want. A long time ago, actually, I committed to a life of continuous learning, even in work, and to try to look at life as a learning experience. That way, it takes the sting out of negative experiences. You kind of go, okay, I learned something there, and you refocus your life, and on you go. So back with accordion and that, I fell in love with guitar when I was hearing with the Beatles and Led Zeppelin, and I saw that classic picture of Jimmy Page with the violin bow, and I wanted to be him. And I had a dear uncle who really took me under his wing and didn't have many opportunities, but he took me to Kingston to his brother's band. His brother was a drummer in a touring band in Kingston. I don't remember the name. They weren't a famous band. They were a touring bar band, but very good. And they played all like everything like Aerosmith and Toto. And I was just like a 12-year-old kid, and they got me up and to play rhythm with them and show me how to play. And I held my first Les Paul at that time. And I was hooked ever since and totally inspired by music. So it's always been a major facet of my life. So at one point, rock and roll, just playing rock in a band wasn't enough. So I had to start singing and branch out. And I developed a love for the acoustic side of guitar playing, the way Jimmy Page would blend guitar, for the say. I don't mean just to pick on him. There's many others, but like going to California and White Summer, Black Mountainside, and Dust in the Wind, and all those, I wanted to learn how to play, but there was nobody around here in Southern Ontario, Canada, that was teaching it much. This was much. All you heard was on the radio. So I ended up. YouTube was out by that time, and a friend showed me a video of Tommy Emmanuel playing classical gas, and it blew my mind. I've never seen a guy so entertaining, but so so much prowess on the guitar. So I kind of set out on a journey to kind of learn some of that, and painstakingly tried to learn it and learn it wrong and all of that. But I eventually saw him play in Quebec City, and met him backstage after the show, and he graciously gave me 2 of his videos, and I've learned so much from the man since. Done 2 of his guitar camps, and I consider him a mentor. So that's where my love of fingerstyle. So where I'm at now is a hybrid fingerstyle playing and rock guitar playing that kind of create more inspiring melodies than just kind of riffs and licks and stuff like that. It's more of an experience of diversity, I guess, in music. Have some jazz influence, some country influence. You'll have some Beatles influence. You'll have some Zeppelin influence in there. You'll have everything from wah-wah guitar solos to interesting finger picking parts that are very dexterous. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
And when it comes to songwriting, you also do that as well as an artist. And when it comes to your compositions, what inspired you or influenced you to kind of have your own sound, your own voice?
Okay, so it's like after a while, I wasn't satisfied with singing backgrounds. I'd been accumulating lyrics and poems and things, writing for the day when you'd find a good songwriting partner. I was looking for my John Lennon partner to write with, and that, but that wasn't materializing. So eventually, you've got to focus your life and do things yourself. And I had to learn how to sing. I had to learn how to sing well and sing what I'm hearing in my head, because what I was hearing in my head, I guess, my mother loved the sound of music and all the operas and, all the classical stuff my father loved. So I have that from a very young age that's down in, I guess, my soul somewhere that like my father listened to Bach and all kinds of stuff. So I have some classical influence in there, what I hear. So you just have to sit down and focus inward and try to play what's going on inside you. So I had these lyrics, and then I had guitar parts that I was starting to develop, and I actually was able to find that voice and sit there and put them together, and hum lines and of melody through the songs, and then you place the words in them and phrase them in there, and that's basically where I'm at now, putting the music together. But I love a good melody that weaves its way through the chords with a nice syncopation. That's kind of inspiring me at the moment.
You listen on Refocus Radio, talking to our guest today, John Dorsch. You can go to his website, JohnDorschMusic.com. And just a reminder, we're going to be talking about his album, Elevation. And when we switch gears and talk about your album that you have, Elevation, tell us a little bit about your experience recording the entire album and where it took place and how excited you are for people to hear.
Well, I'm very excited. My original music is new and fresh. There's an interesting blend of fingerstyle, pop rock, and jazz influences that will stand out to the listener. You can expect a singer-songwriter focused music with harmony vocals. There's lots of great harmony vocals. My wife appears in a lot of them. She's my musical partner. I had several bands going before I retired. I was 31 years as a police officer, so I always blended music in and around a career and family and 3 children and things like that. And now we're at a different stage of life that I can actually focus 100% on all of that. Over the last couple of years, it was a bit of a kickstart because there was no live music or band distractions. I was actually able to focus 100% on my original music and to complete recording of it. I had lots of songs written, but I hadn't gotten around to the studio. So I actually, because of the shutdowns here in Canada, was really severe. So I had time. So I ended up putting together and building a whole recording studio at my house and learning how to do that painstakingly and putting the songs together really one note at a time, one part at a time. The album Elevation I'm very proud of it because I played just about everything you hear on that album, from the drum tracks to the bass guitars, to all the electrics, to all the acoustics, to my wife plays the shakers and the djembe in there, but just about everything you hear is me singing or singing in harmony. And then there's my wife in the background, and I've got a couple of friends that did a guest spot in there. But it was a marathon and a labor of love to do this. It took me 2 years to build that album. Now finally it's going to be uploaded and go across the planet on July the 14th. Couldn't be happier about that. And there's a lot of great fingerstyle melody in that guitar. And I was trying to catch a good blend between my influences and have it not sound like anything generic or I wanted it to sound original and fresh to the listener with inspiring messages. And that's what the lyrics are going to deliver. So that's where I'm at.
So earlier you mentioned about being a retired police officer. You're in Canada, is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit
Exactly.
about your police career, because I think that's very interesting. And how did you balance your career and also, continue to play the guitar when you had the time?
Well, that was interesting. So when I first started, it wasn't really cool, doing anything other than just a police officer and catching bad guys. That was in 1989. I began near Toronto, and there, in short order, the police services needed to reach out to communities to, try to break down barriers and things like that. So fast forward a few years, all of a sudden, the police service in Durham Regional Police had a ceremonial band that developed into a community rock band. So I ended up being the guitar player for a band called the Cruisers. So we would wear a uniform. We would go out to all the community events, play for free, and we'd play dance music, everything from the Beatles to Van Halen. And the crowd loved it. It created a good vibe with the community and the police, and people would donate to whatever cause we were supporting, whether it was, donating to the Twin Towers coming down in Manhattan and the terrible tragedy, or, in 2001, or it was Big Brothers or food drives or, Special Olympics, whatever it was. So I was well involved in that. And then because of the career and the nature of what I was doing, I was working at Fatal Collisions. I was burned out. And so I had to shift gears, went to another police service, and eventually ended up in Ottawa. And I met my wife there, and she was my dispatcher. So I worked on the road. So I dealt with everything you can imagine you would see on the road. And it's at times you get to help people and feel good about that. But there's a lot to kind of drag a person down, and needed to refocus after 31 years of that and shift back into more inspirational, meaningful life.
Now, you mentioned that your wife was your dispatcher. When did that day come when you found out she could sing?
Well, it wasn't until we were married, and that's kind of funny. We sort of fell into this. I had because I had bands going on the side, and I had this sort of separate life. I had my work life, and I had a separate life. Very few people in Ottawa knew when I was working there, the last stretch of my career, the last 11 years there, that I was involved in bands. There's a few people knew, and I didn't want to kind of mix the two. They don't seem to mix that well. So anyway, my wife was the dispatcher, so we eventually fell in love, got married. And I had bands on the side going, and of course the bands would be rehearsing in the living room. And with pandemic shutdowns and things like that, I would be rehearsing for the day when things might be starting up again, or doing original music, or just, I'm going to go solo. I kind of give up on the bands right now. I'm just going to work on my own career because it's about time. And I would notice she was singing and sings beautifully. So I encouraged her, and she eventually grabbed a djembe drum and joins me now. And it fell together organically out of the love of music.
That's awesome. So when you came to this project that we're talking about before, your album Elevation, how much input did she have in this project? Or were you kind of just using her voice as part of the feature of the whole, sound of the project?
Well, she's not a minor player in this whole project. She's my confidant and inspirational mentor. So there's several of the songs. There's the one single that's coming out as well that's available in pre-save. That the album's available that way until June 14th. It's called Faith in Me. So there was some older songs that I'd written in more of a power rock ballad style. So she encouraged me to write in an entirely different style, using a resonator guitar and slide, and create style. So her encouragement and editing, I guess, and encouragement, I ended up trying different. And I realized that a great melody and a great song transposed almost into any style, from hip hop to metal to classical. You can actually do that with music. You're really free with it. The only limitations are what you think they are. So there's other ones. On my way to Mexico, that one came to me on the way to Mexico. We were traveling from Ecuador to Mexico. And I woke up in the morning. I could see the whole song in front of my eyes, and she just joined me organically on the backgrounds of that one. Other ones, she played more of an integral part, like Save Just One More Life, talking about what that song means. It's like, it was such a terrible time the last few years, with people ending their lives because they couldn't go on. I had to write a song about that. And can we just save just one more life? Was the theme. There's other songs like Compromises is talking about, living your life, and, sometimes the compromises are just lies. So anyway, there's some interesting themes across all the music there, but she was integral in a lot of it, listening and, and encouraging, not just a drop-in background singer. So
once again, listen on Refocus Radio, talking to our guest, John Dorsch. You can go to his website, it's JohnDorschMusic.com, talking about his project, his album, Elevation. And now that we know a little bit about you and your wife being your partner in music, when you are balancing being retired from, police, and now you're pursuing your music, how do you keep that balance with, creating music, and also it's also business, so you have to market yourself and push yourself? How you keep that balance where you still have fun doing your whole thing?
You have to take care of yourself here too, because there's a lot to get absorbed into. I'm a type A energetic person. When I commit to something, I get it done. And I think that's more rare these days, if you know what I mean. This project, I had two drummers I was going to bring on the project, and they both failed. In the end, you end up having to do things yourself just to get them done. But I take time. We eat well. We've changed our diets and eat totally healthy, as much local and organic produce as we can. We have our own garden here at the house that we maintain. So staying grounded is really what we try to do. We went for a walk this morning in the trees. The deer flies were bad, but anyway, so it's a nice nature walk. We live out rurally on a lake here, so it's very peaceful at times, and it allows me to decompress. Whereas I wasn't able to do that in my former work life. We do yoga and I meditate as well, and I find meditating and things like that give me a fresh, clean slate without distractions in your mind. Your mind tends to build up and race at times, but this is a promotion phase. But when we go away in the winter, we've made a resolution to travel, and travel gives me a lot of inspiration. It doesn't have to be just music and great, playing to inspire me, like horseback riding in the Andes Mountains, or being in the mountains in Mexico, or even Mexico City was inspirational. It was such a great city. Just travel seems to inspire me. I'll get a flood of ideas, and music will happen. And I have a pocket recorder with me now, and I have a guitar with me at all times, so it doesn't escape me anymore. I can get it down and remember how I hummed the melodies or what came to me at different times. So, and then we also have our duets playing all these songs live in an acoustic cafe format. So I've had to develop all those songs. The album are full band versions, several of them, except for some of the instrumentals. But these are there's a lot going on, but we kind of take turns at it, and we make sure we take time for ourselves to decompress and just enjoy the day. And it's not all work. And I'll play. You have to kind of take a breath, make sure you get your sleep.
And you mentioned traveling multiple times during this interview. Have you found yourself performing in different places while you travel, or you kind of stick more closer to local?
Well, we for many years, I had three children very close together, so my traveling life was very limited. So when I met my wife, we went for 3 weeks to Thailand, and that was our first trip together. And we knew our marriage would work after that, which was wonderful. And we got to see a bit of the world. It was lovely people there, and the food was great, and the culture was great, and entirely different music. So we have a jar and here and pick where we want to go kind of thing. What we can afford is also the bottom line. But last winter, we spent 3 months in Mexico exploring and traveling the entire country just to see it and understand the culture, because, the family life and culture is important. I find that inspires me, and along with just hearing people's stories and just seeing, people in their daily lives, not the not the cruise ship view of their lives there, that kind of thing. So we traveled on buses. We went on the subway in Mexico and got to see how everybody really is. We played different open mics in Mexico. We did that in Ajijic. We also did a pub gig down in Ecuador. We were in Cuenca in Ecuador. Lovely people there. Spanish culture is really nice. In the Andes Mountains, we did a gig at a place called Chill and Chela. It was like a wing place, and their band canceled, and we just happened to be eating there and talking about music. They asked us to play, so we played a show there. It's been just really kind of fun, and I use the travel as inspiration and writing time. So I have the guitar, and I'll be doing whatever with the guitar, pursuing that at the same time. So this year we might go across Africa to Mauritius, and we're not settled on after that, but we want to do a bunch of traveling. The U.S. is definitely going to be traveling. I think we want to camp through the U.S. That way we get more of a feel of the area, stay 2-3 weeks in an area. And my wife hasn't been through Nashville or Louisiana, and I'd like to take her down that way. I did a guitar camp down there. It was fabulous. So get more into music and a little more into travel around North America. But we just went to some of the cheaper destinations at this point because I've got a lot going on. So,
and even though you have a lot going on, you're still doing a lot. I mean, that's awesome. You be able to visit all those different places and experience those different cultures. If there's one thing that you took away throughout all the trips you've been to, what's one thing that you have learned to appreciate after visiting all these different places?
There's the work ethic of different cultures is really, really inspiring to me. Like everybody in the families in Mexico contributes to their well-being, and people seem to have a sense of calm around them. I know Mexico gets a bad rap in the media, at least it does up here in Canada, but I don't have that personal experience. It's the same with people in Ecuador. Everybody was so outgoing and friendly, and family oriented. Like you have, the families bring their disabled children out on Sundays. They go hand in, young children are walking hand in hand with their elder grandparents. It's a really family oriented culture, and that's really inspiring. It's very important that, and Guatemala too was the same way. We found it's the same way, very family oriented. People were very outgoing. If you needed something, they bent over backwards to help you and make your stay great. We shopped locally. We did all food markets. We rented places with a kitchen, did Airbnb kind of stuff, and muddled our way around with that. So it wasn't like a high-end vacation or anything. We just wanted to hit the ground running and see different places and immerse ourselves and taste the coffee here and there. I love coffee. So.
Once again, this on Refocus Radio, talking to our guest, John Dorsch. You can go to his website, JohnDorschMusic.com. We're talking about his album, Elevate. It comes out July 14th. And, man, before we let you go, what's another thing that you would like for our audience to know? Maybe something about this project or maybe some feature plans that you have for your music. Tell us what's on your world.
Okay, well, Faith in Me is the single coming out. So we're not just doing music anymore, like when I was a kid. So we're into video as well. So my wife is my partner in videography. So we produced a video as well for Faith in Me that we both did together. And she shot a lot of the footage because she's really good at that. And we did the editing together. So that'll be released very shortly. That'll go up. We have YouTubes that are accessible on my website. So you can see us actually play live and things like that. We've got some clips up there. There's some other songs that have YouTube. So we've done all our own YouTubes and do it organically. So that's a bit fun. You can expect more of that happening with this album. There's 15 songs in it. It's a long album. And there's lots of music there, an hour and 6 minutes of it. And there'll be another single coming. I haven't decided what it'll be just yet, but the whole album's available for pre-save and before July 14th through the website. And it'll be coming out on Spotify, Deezer, and Apple Music. One thing I wanted to say is I like to speak for positivity and everything that happens in life can be looked looked at negatively or positively. You can choose how you look at things, such as if you have a marriage that ended, and that, of course, that happened to me as well. Unfortunately, that happened, but you can look at all the positives that come out of that, and you can choose how to look at things. And I choose to look at things in a positive way and spread that message through my music, so that you're going to see more of that in my music. And it's just going to get more intricate, and you'll see more of my influences, like John Mayer. You'll see John Mayer in there in some of the guitar parts. Might get a little more funky in the next album and more acoustic side. I'm not sure. Got a bunch of songs, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to finish them just yet. We're sort of in the promotional phase of this one, but as soon as we hit probably November, I'm going to start shifting gear into recording of the new album, and we'll look for that maybe in a year or so.
Well, once again, be listening to Refocus Radio, talking to our guest today, John Dorsch. You can go to his website, JohnDorschMusic.com. Make sure you get his album July 14th, Elevate, and catch him on his YouTube channel as well. And once again, I want to say thank you, John, for telling us your story. And also, man, it was a fun fact knowing that you was a police officer. So thank you for your service.
Thank you so much, Shemaiah, for allowing me to speak with you and get to know you a little bit better. I just hope everybody can that needs to be on your show gets on there, because we need to spread the message. Thank you.